Hey everyone, we have been talking about self-love in February, and today I want to remind you of the definition we came up with. That is the idea of a state of appreciation for ourselves that grows into supportive action, action that supports our physical, mental, spiritual growth. Last week, 2 weeks ago, whenever that was, we talked about self-love being a process, and that it's not a to-do list, although self-care is sometimes a to-do list, but it's a process, it's a journey. And today I want us to think about our strengths. So as you join me here, think about five of your own strengths. Jot them down. Jot down 3, 4, 5 strengths that other people tell you you have. If you're having trouble coming up with what your strengths are, go Google a list of strengths and then just pick some off of that list that you know apply to you. But I want us to just think about what are our strengths, and more importantly, this is really the step I want for us, is how do we appreciate those strengths? What does that look like in our lives to appreciate our strengths? So it's one thing to know them. We have to start there. And then it's another thing to actually be intentional about appreciating them. And so I have a couple of ideas about that. We had a conversation with a group of women last week, I think it was, and they were looking at this very thing. And one of the things that they came up with is you rehearse them, which meaning you remind yourself of them. You make a list, you put the list in front of you, or you take a time at the end of every day and you reflect on what strengths you used that day and what that looked like and how you felt about showing up in your strengths. And we tend, you probably already know this, we tend to rehearse all the bad things that happen, all the weaknesses, all the ways we failed. But what if we began to rehearse the ways we showed up in our strengths? So that's one thing, rehearse. Another thing is practice. Actually find places that you can use your strengths. If you're looking at 3 or 4 or 5 strengths, find other places, new places that you're not using them. Is it at work? Is there a new place at work that you're not using those strengths that you could be using them? Is there a new place at home that you could be using those strengths where you're not using them? Maybe it's a volunteer situation, something in the neighborhood. Where could you, with your friends, start using that strength more? Actually practice using that strength. So rehearse, practice, and then the third one is nurture or feed or fuel those strengths. What are you doing to actually expand those strengths? What would it look like to actually feed those strengths? Do you need more training? Do you need different people in your lives? Do you need to be in different places? What would it take to nurture your strengths? So if you want to go down this journey of self-love, part of it is learning to appreciate your strengths. So make a list of your strengths and begin to rehearse them, practice them, nurture them. So what will you do this week to appreciate your strengths? I look forward to hearing from you about that. I'm Michele Gooch with Life by Design. I know everyone wants to live in a life of purpose, a life of fulfillment, a life with some direction. And so much of the time we don't know who we are, and that causes us trouble in getting that purposeful life, that intentional life, right? And I just don't believe any of us should be walking around self-doubt, full of self-doubt. And what I want for all of us is to begin to live in that space where we feel fulfilled. And I would love to partner with you in that. I have a framework that I follow to get us from where we are right now to where we really want to be. And you can find me at lifebydesign.guru, www.lifebydesign.guru. I'll see you next Wednesday at 1.